I love you too, Sandy. I mean, who brags about making their kid breakfast? What mother brags about making their kid breakfast? I mean, it's like, yeah, of course we made. How else was he going to get breakfast? Of course we made him brags about making their kid breakfast. I mean, it's like, yeah, of course we made. How else was he going to get breakfast? Of course we made him breakfast. Kid's not 30, your 30-year-old son living in the basement. I had to make him breakfast, who's neurotypical. Spaghetti pancakes. Um, like, why would a kid be so excited his mom made him breakfast that he has to call up and brag? And to make them aware of two things. I also contacted the district attorney's office again today. I wanted to make them aware of two things. One is that I started a change.org petition that is still going. And if you haven't signed it, I'm going to put it in the chat here. It's www.change.org. Maybe I should put the www. I don't know if this is going to do www.change.org / justice for Sebastian. If you haven't signed it, please do so. This went up and we've gotten over 500 signatures already. I put General Whitley down as the decision maker because it is a call to investigate possible nonfeasance by the sheriff's department.
Ivan?
I am. I'm out, headed out into West Texas.
Very good. Well,
What's the song with West Texas in it?
I don't know.
Old El Paso.
Town of El Paso.
Yep.
Yeah.
Marty Robbins.
Yep.
We're showing our age there.
No kidding.
Oh, we know what
So,
8 tracks are.
So what I'd like to talk about, guys, and I appreciate you giving me the chance to come on and clear some of this up. First thing I can tell your audience is that you guys are here tonight with a group of people that verify, re-verify, as Mr. E said over and over again, try to gain information from a couple or three different sources before they put it out. And unfortunately, and I'm not going to get into mentioning creators by name, but unfortunately, we're dealing with other creators that they really don't verify anything, and it's kind of a pattern with some of these creators. And the latest thing that's out there from a couple creators is that there had been an email sent by Seth Rogers that he was trying to get Sebastian put in a home. I think it started out, September, October, that kind of thing. Even the dates aren't correct. I heard another rumor that something to the effect of Seth was told that, well, they had given Seth a year to get his home in order. And because he couldn't get his home in order, they were going to do something different with Sebastian. That's kind of like it's kind of like a lot of the other things that have happened there locally. It's just not factual. Um, I'll take you guys back. First off, we're familiar with some of these DCS reports that have been talked about over and over again. Um, I think it's important for your audience to know that over the last 2 years, there's been 5 different DCS reports that were filed. Those reports started in 22.
So did you say 5, Tony?
Correct.
Okay.
Are these all in the Proudfoot home?
Correct.
Okay,
Now,
I don't think I've ever heard that number before.
so what I can tell you, obviously, we are not allowed to discuss the content of those reports.
Right.
I can tell you that whether they're in one parent's name or the other step parent's name, the allegations are consistently against the step parent.
I'm paraphrasing what Tony said. Described by Tony Mathis with child endangerment. Supposed to be around Sebastian? No. Kate was charged with child endangerment in a CPS as described by Tony Mathis. In a CPS case. I'm saying the word endangerment. He described it as for allowing him to be around the person who is causing him harm. I'm paraphrasing what Tony said. And I'm making my own based on everything I know. I'm adding the word endangerment to that, right? Saying that's endangerment. When you allow your child to knowingly putting your child in harm's way, you are endangering your child. Endangerment to children is against the law. So it's her responsibility not to endanger him. She was charged, or the CPS was opened with her name on it, the CPS case with her name on it, for having allowed him to be around someone who had multiple cases in Sumner County. Now, by the way, this is something I'm going to be trying to look into. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find anything at all because, you know, you can't find it through CPS. CPS is whatever county it is their files are sealed, that you cannot have access to anything like that. They're not public record. But they were only in that house 17 months. They were at a previous address, right, in Tennessee before that. If anybody knows that address specifically that they lived at prior to moving to Stafford Court, I would love to know that. Because, thank you, Tam. So, you know, I'm not saying this is what happened in the case of Sebastian, but I believe it is a possibility because what we know about children and child abuse is that these families, when they feel like their child is getting close to their teachers or friends or their parents are going to be exposed in some way, they're going to be reported, they move.
So you can have a DCS report that's filed that may be in the mom's name, but it may be regarding the environment that she is allowing her child to be in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go back to the first of these DCS reports was filed in 22. So fast forward to 23, which would have been, let's say, a year ago at this time. Katie and Chris were actually trying to get Seth to take Sebastian a year before everybody knew that the plan was for him to go to live with Seth. So you look at, I want to say October of 22. Now these dates are rough. They're within a month or so of being accurate.
Okay.
But in October of 22, um, they had tried to get Seth to take Sebastian then. Now, this is not something that a lot of people know. Well,
I have not heard this. No.
what they're talking about when they say that things could not get in order for him to get Sebastian, it had nothing to do with his home. It had to do with the fact that they wanted him to take Sebastian in the fall of 22, and he had tried to get signed up for the online program with Clarksville schools, and there was a waiting list, and he could not get approved. So he had a conversation with Chris and Katie and told them that he really thought that it would be smart for them to continue to let him finish out the school year and not move him to another physical school in the middle of the year. So that's what happened. He stayed in his, stayed at the school he was at for the remainder of 22 and part of 23. So fast forward to November of 23, we know that there were more DCS reports filed in that month. And we know that on or about the time those DCS reports were filed, Seth Rogers received a call from Chris and Katie that they wanted to put Sebastian in a behavioral center. Basically, you can call it a boys' home. I don't like to call it that. I like to call it a behavioral center.
Okay.
They were having problems with Sebastian at home. They were having problems with Sebastian at school. They were kind of at their wits' end with him. According to Seth, they did not have a lot of patience with him, which is why they had a lot of problems that Seth did not have when he was with Seth. So Seth asked Chris and Katie to send him the name of the organization that they were trying to send him to. They sent him the name. The name of that organization was Bledsoe Youth Academy in Gallatin, Tennessee. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that place.
I don't think I've heard of that.
Okay. So that was in November of 23. Seth does research on that specific center. And according to Seth, there had been 5 or 6 childhood deaths associated with that facility.
My
Oh,
goodness.
wow.
So when he found that out, he reached out to Chris and Katie again by phone, let them know that under no circumstances was his son going to that facility, and gave them the reason. So they in turn told Seth that if he could find another behavioral facility that he liked better or that he thought was a safer place for Sebastian, they would allow, they would consider that. So the infamous email that people are talking about was simply a forwarded email. I have a copy of it, and I will send it to you guys off the air.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
He reached out to a a lady that was a behavioral specialist, and she recommended 4 different centers. And the
Okay.
4 centers were, one was in Missouri, one was in Utah, one was in Wyoming, and then the 4th one was in another state. I can't remember what state it was in.
Okay.
So when Seth got that email, the email described in great detail each facility, what they treated, uh, what they specialized in, a little bit about the facility, and it was basically a synopsis of all 4 facilities. So Seth, on December 1st, simply forwarded that email to Chris and Katie. Again, I have a copy of the forwarding email. So they did some research and figured out that those facilities were between $5,000 and $10,000 a month. They decided it wasn't in the cards for the blended family together to be able to pay for that. So that's when they went back to, well, when this school year is over, he's coming to live with you, which would have been in May, which of course Seth said, fantastic.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to go back to Clarksville and I'm going to find out if he is ready to be approved for that online school. Well, in a matter of a week, Seth found out that Sebastian's name had come up, which would have been the first, second week of December, and that Sebastian had been approved for the online school. Basically, his turn in line had come up. So everything was, was situated there. They quit talking about the behavioral centers or what have you, and just accepted the fact that in May he was going to live with his dad, and it would be his dad that would be dealing with him and any issues he may or may not have. So fast forward to the end of January of 24, there was
Okay.
another DCS report that was filed. We do not have the details of that report because that report was ongoing when Sebastian went missing.
So even Seth has never read this one.
Correct.
And Tony, there's a few questions in chat about this. And if I remember correctly, Seth had to go to an attorney to get these reports in the first place, correct?
The report, yes, all of the reports that I mentioned previously that were not currently open, he had to go to an attorney to get those reports.
Can I just clarify? So that one that happened in January that Seth has not been able to read, is that is the 5th CPS report that we know of?
Correct.
Okay. Wow.
That's
Now,
insane.
now, I'm a math guy, but I don't think you have to be a mathematician for this to add up. And I'm certainly not going to come on your show and start getting into accusing anybody, but
No.
get to the point where there's enough DCS reports and it's been made very clear that they don't want to deal with this child. And on February 25th, early February 26th,
About his mom, Kathy, out of the country saying, beautiful day to check out real estate here. That was 6 days ago. She said, beautiful day. This is not in the United States, as far as I could tell. And even her brother, his brother name is Danny Guy. Is that his name? Danny Guy. He's, don't forget about your nephew's 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath house that there, Danny Guy wrote in. Oh no, they're in I was in the British Virgin Islands, Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. That is not the U.S. That is British Virgin Islands. Interesting. He wants to go to Canada, and she wants to go this. And I said to the DA's office, this woman who I spoke to there, I go, I don't know, are they teasing? Are they? I go, if the Sumner County Sheriff's Department enforces the law regarding child abuse, right? They're felonies, they could go to prison, and during the trial, they might have to forfeit their passports. Considering I don't know if they're joking or if they're serious. I can't tell.